Hi friends, this is Raja. Welcome to Coder's Companion. This video is all about getting started with Python. This is a series of videos on Python programming for beginners. And for more videos, you can visit my channel Coder's Companion or click on my playlist links. Before moving on to the video, I would recommend you to subscribe my channel so that you get the notification each time I publish a new video. Let's get started. So these are the topics that I am going to cover in getting started with Python. Let's start with what is Python. Python is a high-level programming language. For a communication to happen between two people, we need a common language. For example, these two people are communicating in English language. Just like how we need a common language to communicate with each other, we need a language to instruct a computer to perform some task and produce output. We generally write a computer program using a high-level language which is called source code. A high-level language can be understandable by human, but computers do not understand high-level language. It only understands the program written in zeros and ones, called the binary code or machine code. So we need to convert source code to machine code. To do that, we use either a compiler or an interpreter. Programs written in languages such as Java, C++ use a compiler, whereas Python uses an interpreter. A compiler is a program that translates a source code or high-level programming language into a target machine code that the CPU can process and understand. Python is interpreted language. Let's see how a Python interpreter works. A Python interpreter translates source code into bytecode first using a compiler program written in C language, which is called CPython. Then the bytecode is translated to binary code with the help of Python virtual machine. The difference between a compiler and an interpreter is that a compiler scans and translates the entire program into machine code at once, whereas the interpreter translates just one statement of the program at a time into machine code. Python is interactive. Python can also be executed interactively, which means a user types one line of code, runs the code and gets the output, and can repeat this process again and again. It makes it very easy for user to debug the code. Python is object-oriented. Object-oriented programs are built around objects. In Python, everything is an object. For example, integer, string, list, function, etc. You can think about objects as something that exists in the real world. Let's consider an online store which has products such as computers, laptops, mobile phones, and cameras. The store also has customers and employees. Python considers all these entities as objects which has some properties and functionalities. Important features of Python. This is the second topic of getting started with Python. Let's start. Python has many features. I have listed here some of the important features. Let's begin with free and open source. Python is free and open source, which means you don't need to pay to use the source code. It is freely available on its official website, www.python.org. It has opened the door of opportunities for many startups and independent entrepreneurs big time. Simple and easy to code and learn. Python is easy to learn as compared to other programming languages. Its simple coding style is much the same as English language. Python can perform complex tasks using a few lines of code, while other languages take multiple lines of code. Wide range of standard libraries and framework. Sometimes these two terms, libraries and frameworks, are used interchangeably. But in short, libraries are reusable codes and frameworks are the structural environment to develop applications. Python has plethora of standard libraries and frameworks. This picture shows a few of them. Let's identify some libraries and framework based on the type of application. For web application development, frameworks such as Django, Flask, Web2Py are used. For artificial intelligence, data science, machine learning, and deep learning, these are some of the libraries: TensorFlow, Keras, Theano, PyTorch, NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, Scikit-learn. For mobile app development, Kiwi is used. For desktop app development, Kinter, PyQt is used. For game development, Pygames is used. For database development, Python provides libraries for open source DB such as SQLite, MySQL, and Postgres. Python has large community across the world that is dedicatedly working towards making new Python libraries. Cross-platform language. Python applications can be developed in different platforms and can also run on different platforms such as Windows, Linux, and Mac operating system. So we can say that Python is a portable language. It enables programmers to develop the software for several competing platforms by writing a program only once. Extensible and embeddable. It is possible to extend Python code by including code from other programming languages into Python code. For example, CPython is a compiler written in C program. We can also embed Python code in another programming language as well. For example, Python code can be embedded into C and C++ programs. History of Python. This is third topic in getting started with Python. Let's begin. Guido van Rossum. He is the man who created Python in the late 80s at CWI in Netherlands. Python was named after the BBC TV show Monty Python's Flying Circus. Python was said to be derived from ABC and Modula 3 programming languages. Let's step over the footprints of Python to know about important versions and highlights of Python. We can broadly classify Python versions into two parts: older version from start to 2.x versions and newer version Python 3.x versions. Let's begin with older version. The implementation of Python was started in December 1989. In February 1991, Python 0.9.0 was published. Python at the initial stage of development had the functionalities such as classes with inheritance, exception handling, functions and data types such as list, dictionary, string, and so on. Also, module system was implemented, which is derived from Modula 3. In Jan 1994, Python 1.0 was released. The major new features included in this release were the functional programming tools Lambda, Map, Filter, and Reduce. In October 2000, Python 2.0 was released. New features such as list comprehensions, garbage collection systems was added in this release. Python 2.2 was released in December 2001. A major innovation was the unification of Python's types written in C and types written in Python into one hierarchy. Python 2.5 was released in September 2006. In this release, with statement was introduced, which encloses a code block within a context manager. Python 2.6 was released in October 2008. To coincide with Python 3.0 and included some features from that release. Python 2.7 was released in July 2010. It included features from Python 3.1, which was released on June 2009. In November 2014, it was announced that Python 2.7 would be supported until 2020. But users were encouraged to move to Python 3 as soon as possible. Let's look at the newer version of Python. Python 3.0 was released on December 2008, also called Python 3000 or Py3k. It was designed to rectify fundamental design flaws in the language. Python 3.x mainly focused on removing duplicative constructs and modules. In keeping with, there should be one and preferably only one obvious way to do it. Python 3.x remained a multi-paradigm language. Coders could still follow object-oriented, structured, and functional programming paradigms. Python 3.x version broke backward compatibility, and Python 2.x code does not run unmodified on Python 3.x. Subsequent releases in the Python 3.x series have included additional substantial new features. All ongoing development of the language is done in 3.x series. Download and install Python. This is fourth topic in getting started with Python. Let's begin. Open a browser. In Google search box, type Python download. Press enter. In the search result, you can click on this link, or you can type www.python.org in the address bar to open the site. This opens the Python official website. Here you will be able to find lot of resources, documentations. There is a beginner's guide, developer's guide, and you can also see community success stories, news and events. So if you find time, you can explore this site. To download Python, from the top menu you click on this download link. It opens the download page. Here you will find download Python 3.9.6, which is the latest version, and it keeps on updating. And if you want to install Python for different operating system, you can click on these links, or you can click on these links. And if you want to download and install a specific version, you can scroll down a little. You will find Python active releases and Python specific versions, like it is listed here, and it is being sorted by release date. And you can see here download links. You can click on these links and download and install. So let's click on download Python 3.9.6. So when I click the button, in the left bottom corner, the Python installable is downloading. Now the download is completed. Let's click on this link. So it opens a pop-up. You can click on this run button. It takes me to Python installation window. Here you can click on install now. Before that, make sure that install launcher for all users is checked, and you can also check add Python 3.9 to path. This will add the Python path to the environment variable. I will explain about environment variable and click on install now. This opens the progress bar. During installation, it will show the various components it is installing and move the progress bar towards completion. It takes some time to complete. Now the installation is completed successfully. You can click on this close button. To verify the installation, click on the start menu, scroll down. You will find Python 3.9 folder. Click and expand this folder. You will find the Python IDLE, which is Integrated Development and Learning Environment, and you will find Python shell, and there are some manuals, documentations to learn. Python path in environment variables. This is fifth topic in getting started with Python. Let's begin. In our last video, while installing, I checked the checkbox add Python 3.9 to path, and it adds environment variable in system properties. Now as the installation is done, let's view the environment variable. Right click on this PC, select Properties. In this window, scroll down. You will find Advanced System Settings. Click on this link. This opens System Properties. Make sure that the tab Advanced tab is selected here and click on this Environment Variables button. You will find in this Environment Variables window User Variables, System Variables as two separate windows. From the User Variables, select the path and click on Edit. You will find the Python path present in this environment variable. Let's navigate to this location. So here you can find Python executables default location. So the main advantage of adding the Python path in the environment variable is that we can run Python command from any location. To verify that, let's open Windows command prompt. Here I am in this location c:users hp. Now let's type a Python command. This command is to get the Python version and it is being recognized in this location. Now let's change the current path. Now I am in f:, and let's type a Python command here. Again, it is able to recognize in this location. That means I am able to run Python command from any location if the Python path is there in the environment variable. Suppose that if the path is not present in the environment variable, then I have to type the entire path to run this command. I have to type the entire path here. So it is advisable that you don't delete the environment variable. Working with Python Interactive Interpreter. This is sixth topic in getting started with Python. Let's begin. Click on the Start menu. Select Python 3.9. Click on Python 3.9. This is a Python Interactive Interpreter. Here you can find some information about the Python installed version, and there are some configuration information. You can see here there are three greater than symbol. This is a command prompt where you can write Python commands. Let's type some command here. Python interpreter reads a command, evaluates it and prints the output and loop back to the command prompt again. Let's type one more command. You can also use Python interpreter to do some simple calculation like addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. You can also use Python expressions here. For example, a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20, c is equal to 30, total is equal to a plus b plus c, total average is equal to a plus b plus c divided by 3. In Python interpreter, you don't need to type the print statement to print the value of variables. You can simply type the variable like this. You can also type some literals. It will display the same whatever you have typed. For example, have typed string literals here. You can also type some numbers like this. You can use underscore to get the last output. For example, so my last output is 4.5. It displays 4.5. Let's use another variable. So I want to display the value. Now let's use the underscore. So it gives the last output. So you can use this underscore also in an expression. For example, a is equal to 5. Oh, let's print a. So the underscore value was 15. Now it becomes 20. Interpreter cannot save the Python commands you typed above. If you close this window, everything will be lost. You can use a Python interpreter to simply experiment with the command interactively. You need to use a file editor such as Python ideally to write Python code, save it and run the code again and again. You can also open the Python interpreter in Windows command prompt. Let's open Windows command prompt. You can see that it opens the default folder. Just type Python here. It enters into interactive mode. Now you can use this as a Python interpreter. Working with Python ideally. This is 7th topic in getting started with Python. Let's begin. So the full form of ideally is Integrated Development and Learning Environment. Let's open Python ideally. From the start menu, open this folder Python 3.9. Select ideally Python 3.9. Click on it. It opens a window which is very similar to the interactive interpreter which we saw in our last video. The difference between the ideally shell and the other window is that it has file menu. It works the same way. You can type some command here and it will print the output. Python ideally can be used as an interactive shell, and at the same time we can use this as a file editor. Let's open a file editor and write a program. To open the file editor, select the file menu, click on the new file. You will find that a new window has opened. This is the window to write the Python code, and this is the window. This Python ideally shell is a window where you can see the output. So let's write a program here. So I wrote a simple program here. Let's save the file. You can save the file in the Python default folder, or you can save it anywhere in the drive. Let me save this in Python default folder. Let me give a name as Python first.py and click on the save button. Now the file is being saved in this location. Let's run the program. From the menu, select run. You can click on run module or you can press F5. You can see that it prints the output in the ideally shell. Now let's close the file. If you want to open the file again, you can select from the file menu, open. You have the file name as PyFirst. Select the file name and open. Now you can modify the code and you can run again. Save it and run. Now you can see the output after I modified the file. Running Python program using Notepad. This is 8th topic in getting started with Python. Let's begin. You can also simply write a program in Notepad and execute it. Let's see how to do it. Open a folder where you want to write a program. I'm selecting F drive. So I want to save my program in this location. Right click and create a text document. Open it. You can save this as Python program. Save as. Type the file name here with .py extension. Let's say hello.py. Now you can see that it created a Python file. You will be able to differentiate the text file and Python program file by their icons. Now let's open this program file. Let me write some program here. Let's save the program and close it. To run the program, you can open Windows command prompt. You can click on this icon here in the start menu, or from the start menu, from Windows system, you can select the command prompt. Now let's navigate to this folder location. Now to run the program, we need to type Python, a space and the file name. Enter. Now you can see that it is showing the output. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please click on the like button, share the link to your friends, and for any questions and comments, feel free to post it in the comment box. And don't forget to subscribe my channel so that you get the notification each time I publish a new video. See you in next video.